What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a clip from our 2,000 subscribers Zoom call. We had two wonderful young gentlemen on, and I was able to answer a ton of questions. I'm actually going to splice them up and use them as video topics moving forward, so you get a good chance to know what the questions are, and then obviously my extended answer. No filter, no edits, nothing like that. I'll throw some photos and stuff that are relevant to each of the topics as well in the video. So stay tuned for the whole thing. In this video, I describe my entire abroad experience. So now that it's the last couple of days that I'm in Perth, it's got me really thinking about the types of things that I have really enjoyed, things that have been really challenging, and just all the amazing experiences that I have had in Spain, Denmark, the United States, and now here in Australia as I'm coming to a close here in Perth. I will be leaving in a couple days from the release of this video. So really looking forward to this video. It was a fantastic subscriber Zoom call. I was really excited about it, and let's hop into the video, guys. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave your questions down below, and I will get to them as quickly as I can.
Could you just do like a bit of a rundown on like kind of a story time on your time in Spain, Denmark, US, and Australia, and how you kind of got those opportunities and how they came about?
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a great question. Yeah, buckle up. It's a it's a long story. So I'll go in chronological order. So Denmark was first. I actually went over there to study, knowing that because it was part of my, I guess I had an opportunity through my uni degree, and I decided on Denmark because I knew that the football opportunities over there would be better than some of the other places that I had considered that are, like New Zealand and a couple other random spots that I remember applying to. And so about a month before I left, and I knew I was going to be there for about the entire Danish season, which was perfect. So I was like, okay, I got an email, and I had no agent, no nothing. And this was about the time, this was my third year in uni. As we spoke about before, I had definitely more self-awareness. I was starting every game as a, as a junior in college. I was making huge waves in the league. I was performing really well, and as soon as I knew that I was going to go to Denmark, I started emailing every single team that was close to my house, because I knew that I wasn't going to have a car over there, obviously. In Denmark, if either of you have been to Denmark, the public transportation system is amazing. So they've got trains that go everywhere. They've got buses. It's a really good system. So I knew that I would be traveling on bus, and then I got the location of my apartment that I was going to be living in. So I basically went, looked at a map and went every team and just emailed everybody in a, 5-kilometer radius, and then emailed everybody in a 10-kilometer radius, 20-kilometer radius, and just kept going and going and going. And after emailing probably 50 or 60 teams, I got 5 responses or so, and went and had a couple trials. As soon as I landed in Denmark, I had about a week to get used to the time zone. And then as soon as I got used to it and the time difference, my body equalized, I was all ready to go. Went and trialed at several of these teams. One of them ended up dropping out, and I couldn't. So I think it was like 4 teams, maybe 3 or 4 teams. Anyway, so went and trialed at a bunch of those and made all of them. Was like everybody was interested in signing me. Because of NCAA rules at that point.
What league is this again?
Say again.
What leagues would these be in? Third, fourth?
These were 3rd and 4th division, I think. And then yeah, but the problem was, or I guess it wasn't a problem, but I guess the caveat was that because I was an American player in the NCAA, I couldn't have any money. So technically I could sign a contract or I could get a contract or whatever, or I could play without one and that was fine. But I couldn't make any money. Like they couldn't give me anything. They couldn't give me any. And I actually remember having a conversation because I called my coach because I was like, holy crap, I've got 4 opportunities to go play here in the third and fourth division. And I think there was one in the fifth division as well. It was sort of all over the place. Cause again, I emailed everybody and just, was going to go figure it out. And I remember having a Skype call with my college coach and sitting down with him and the sporting director and just being like, what do I do? How do I navigate this and also be able to come back and play in my last season in uni so that I can graduate? And he was basically like, you can't, just make sure that you don't get any cash, any clothes, any, if there's anything that you take from any club, i.e., kit or whatever, just make sure you pay for it. So I was like, okay, no problem. I'll figure it out. And so I decided to play for a little while. I decided to play for this team called Oosterbro, which was one of the neighborhoods there, similar to here in Australia. Like each neighborhood has its own club kind of thing. And really enjoyed playing. The coach had played in the Premier Division in Denmark, so he was, I thought he was awesome. And one of these weeks, actually, I was playing in a local park by myself. I was training on my own, doing sprints, and this random guy came up to me and started talking to me in Danish. And obviously, I don't know Danish anymore. I used to be able to understand it pretty well. And he said something and I was like, and I spoke back to him in the little Danish that I knew and was like, hey, can we speak English? Because I don't really understand you. And he was like, yeah, of course. And so he basically was like, are you playing here? Like, what's your story? And he was just watching me play in this park. And he goes, I have a connection in the second division. You should go trial at this club. And I was like, whoa, like, okay, that's a big deal. This is these are really good players, obviously. And at the time I was only, 19 or 20 years old. So I was like, cool, ready for it. Let's do it. And ended up going there and trialing. And the guy, this coach was like, I know this is sort of a random fact, but the coach of this team was probably 6'6". I've never seen a soccer player this large before. He was an absolute giant. And this team, and I'm gonna think of the name. I can't remember the name. It's all, obviously a Danish name, and this was several years ago. So I'm trying to remember what they were called. I'll think of it. But anyway, so went and trialed, and the coach was like, hey, I really want you, but unfortunately, like we have to sign you. That's like kind of part of the league. Obviously, you can't be an unsigned player and play in games and stuff. And so I kind of had to think about it, and I was like, what do I really prioritize? Do I want to go finish my degree? Had a bunch of conversations with my parents, and then basically was just like, I'm going to stick with the team that I am going to play with for the rest of the time, which was the team, obviously, I was currently playing with. And yeah, so that was kind of the Danish opportunity. I really wanted to stay longer in the country because I loved it there. I will definitely be going back at some point again. But yeah, so that was Denmark. It was sort of a weird situation where I didn't have any agent. I had no representation, and it was all just like guerrilla marketing, which basically is like email as many people as possible, and something will work out if you want it bad enough. So any follow-ups on Anthony? I saw you had your hand up. Did you want to?
Yeah, it wasn't anything that important, but now that you remember, you said you could drive, and I saw you in a car in some videos. When were you able to take the driving lessons?
In Australia or in the US?
What do you mean?
Like, like I got my driver's license when I was 16, but and yes, I could have driven in Denmark, but I didn't have a car.
No, I don't mean that. I just can you take a driving lesson at 16? I didn't know. I thought you had to be 18, but then
Oh, no. So I actually, in America, we get our driver's license when we're 16.
oh,
That's why you see in all the movies in high school with the trucks.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah. So, Nicholas, did you have any follow-ups about the Danish situation? I can move on to Spain as well whenever.
Yeah, no. Did you? Was it tough to say no to a second division? Because that's obviously a good level. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it was tough, but I think I remembered, for me, I've always had like soccer is right now my number one priority, but I also know that later in life there's going to be other things that I'm going to be doing. And, similar to anybody, like unless you're a Zlatan Ibrahimovic who plays until he's, 50 years old or whatever, it's, and I know he's only 39, 38 or 39 now, but, unless you're superhuman like that, and even then, your career doesn't last forever. And so for me, education was really important to my parents and it was really important to me. And I said, you know, weigh the cost. So if the cost benefit was I drop out of school, go play for, or put it this way, go play professional. And as soon as the season's over, go finish college, but then I couldn't play in my last season because I would be considered a professional player. So, or if I said no to this team, I would play at still a high level in Denmark for that time. And then I could go back and play in college, finish my college career, graduate with a degree, and then go play in whatever country or in America I wanted to. So yeah, it was a huge decision and it was a really tough one. Like hands down, probably one of the tougher decisions I've ever made. But it paid off, I think. And I don't have any regrets. And I really do live that way. I mean, I just am like, you know what, like I'm going to make my decision. I'm going to be solid with it and I'm going to deal with whatever comes afterwards.
what was the money and like level at compared to your MPL one with Rockingham?
Mm-hmm. The money. So we actually didn't even get to talk about cash because it was like too early. Like I had basically said, look, I know you're offering me a contract and stuff, but like before we talk about specifics, I need to have conversations with my parents. So we actually didn't even talk about money, although I would say I reckon I'd make more here in Australia than I would in Denmark, even at the second division. So yeah. And then the level, I'd say the level was probably a little higher, maybe a little higher overall in that Danish team. Not by much, but definitely, I think if you took, like, obviously there were players and there are players in my NPL team and in the NPL 1 league that could absolutely play at that level. But overall, I think the players were better in the Danish league.
Yeah, probably just move on to Spain then, or whatever, or Antonis' question.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Spain. We'll start with Spain. So yeah, so so then I guess fast forward only about 8 months or so from Denmark. I got back from Denmark and then, at the end of that year, I was planning on graduating, getting all my, had just did really, really well in my senior season, scored a bunch of goals, got defensive player of the year, all this other stuff. And kind of said, okay, next step is professional game. So started contacting a bunch of people. Didn't really know where to go. as far as teams went, because I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go, so I decided to solicit agents, and I found an agent of sorts, like a contact, through a buddy of mine who we both were interested in playing with, who lived over in Spain. And I had been talking to several other people at that time too. I think one in England, one in Spain, this guy in Spain, and then there was a guy in France as well. So just kind of all over the place. And there was obviously some connections with some US teams as well, but I was sort of like, I'm young, why not go and play abroad somewhere, have some life experience. And so literally 3 weeks, I graduated and got prepared, moved all my stuff back to my parents' house in Seattle. And then 3 weeks later was on a plane to Spain, and landed in Spain, and got to San Sebastian, which was the town that I was going to be living in for, that time there. Met with the agent. We had some like preseason training with me and a couple other guys that were over there. And then he basically had it set up where we were training with the Antiguoco Academy, which was where Xavi Alonso came out of, and a couple other really amazing players. And we were training with a couple of coaches from that academy, which is up in San Sebastian. And so we were playing and we were doing really well, lots of training stuff. And then about 2 weeks after I landed, they had some scouts come, and they had a couple of teams come down, and we started our preseason training. And these scouts got really interested, and were like, we want to take you to these different teams and stuff. And we decided to go with a team called Real Union, who this agent guy who had originally brought us over there had a connection with. So we went and started preseason training with them, and the team seemed super interested. There was about 4 or 5 guys, I think, over with us and over with me, and myself and one other guy made it. So it was like a really cool experience. And I was actually playing with I was playing with the Real Union team, and then a very similar thing happened in Denmark, where somebody saw me play. I can't remember if it was an agent or another, you know what? It might have been one of the agents that was there before I started playing for Real Union. He saw me, he had seen me play, and was like, hey, I want you to go and try out for the 4th division or something, like 4th or 3rd division there. Just like, it was like a level up from where I was at. And because keep in mind, in Spain, the top 3 leagues are fully professional. The 4th league is very, very competitive, and it's like semi-pro kind of. So it's you're paid pretty well, and people can live just fine on it. 5th division is also really technical. Really, I mean, the Spanish leagues are crazy. They're really, really similar to Germany and England for that matter. Like it sort of follows like the 5 big leagues in Europe. Like even down at like the 3rd and 4th division, it's like a very, very high level. And a lot of those 3rd division, a 3rd division team in Spain could easily beat like half the American 1st division teams. So it's like, it's kind of one of those. Yeah. So it's like
when I lived, sorry there.
No, go ahead.
Because I used to live in Italy when I was younger, up to 12 years old. And I was playing for 4th division academy team, and like the fans like were insane. Like there was like 7,000-8,000 fans at each game. Like some of the players, probably some of the players, like probably the starting 11 players were probably professional, and then others probably had side jobs. But like you can see how competitive it is. Like,
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that was super cool. And so anyway, so I went and trialed at this team in Bilbao that was sort of right in the middle of the city, and it was really cool. Like it was super, super amazing. And that was all on my own. So I, was training with this team, Real Union, went and trained, and I'm for the life of me, I can't remember what the team, for about a week, I lived in an Airbnb in Bilbao on my own and just, trialed for this team. And I think the coach was interested. He wanted to sign me, and then something happened where the administration came and was like, I'm sorry, we're not going to sign an American player. Something happened behind behind the scenes that was sort of shady and weird. And I don't remember what happened, but all I remember is getting a call from my agent, and he was like, hey, come back to Real Union. Like something happened with, the coach wanted you, but something happened. Like it was all, maybe it was lost in translation. I'm not actually sure, but something happened there that was sort of weird. So I ended up not being able to play with them, but ended up going back to Real Union and playing there. And this is where things get a little bit strange. And I'm going to, I want to be very positive because I think that that's what's important. Attitude is absolutely everything when it comes to football. We were on a traveler visa, knowing full well that we could only stay for 3 or 4 months. And we were getting to the end of that. And I sort of said to the agent, I said, look, the guy who had originally brought me over there, I said, hey, part of our deal was that we would talk about getting, because I was signed at that point. I was like signed for a team. And I was like, I just need help on this visa stuff. And so I went and, me and a buddy of mine went and hired a lawyer to talk to. And it was just like, we were doing everything in our power. And basically the agent guy kind of said, I've done what I can do. I can't get involved anymore. So he kind of dropped off the face of the earth. And we were both kind of like, well, we can't stay in the country illegally. That doesn't do anything for us. Plus, if we get found out that we're here, we could either get deported, or if I wanted to come back and play professionally, they wouldn't let me back in the country because I had already been an illegal immigrant here, or an illegal non-immigrant, either way. And so I ended up having to leave the country because I wasn't able to get a visa even through the club, because the club was basically told by the agent that the agent would sort everything out. So the club didn't start the paperwork, and there was like all this craziness going on. But that's all to say that when you do go to a foreign country, you really have to be careful of that stuff, because there are people who, and this has happened now twice to me. One time after this, it was a guy that was wanting to bring me to France. So both the Spanish and the France thing, thank God I actually didn't go to France, because that would have been a mess. But you really have to be careful when you are going to go and travel abroad, that things are already put into place contractually, because otherwise people can take money and just disappear. And that's just like, sometimes the football world is corrupt like that. And again, I'm taking full responsibility for it. I needed to, like as as Anthony had asked earlier, like that's on me, because I didn't vet the guy well enough, and I'll take full responsibility for that situation. Is it a bummer? Yeah, of course. Like it sucks, like I wanted to play in Spain a lot longer. But then I knew what sort of BS looked like, and I know when, like now I know when to really say something to somebody who I think is kind of being weird and fishy. So, any follow-ups from either of you guys on
no,
the Spain story?
No.
a lot of people now, I think, are trying the. I don't know if you know Brandao.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Go over to Romania and try your luck. And especially if you don't know the language and you're a complete foreigner, like from a different continent, like they can easily rip you off.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, and I guess I'm a little lucky because I do speak a little Spanish and I do understand it well. But it is a very different situation when you've got Spanish law involved, and there is not much I can do about the national government of Spain and, trying to get in there. So yeah, it's a really complicated situation, and I think I applaud Brandao for what he's doing because he's traveling. He's making it work. Again, it's all about finding the avenue that works for you and going after it. So yeah, so that was Spain, and then I came home from Spain, and pretty soon afterwards got diagnosed with stress fractures in both of my legs. So I had to be out for about 4 months after that. And I think it was just the amount of stuff that we were doing in Spain. Like we were training a ton. And just we didn't have a lot of the equipment because we were living in a place that wasn't, we had the ocean and stuff, but that wasn't really great for recovery. And I hadn't invested really in recovery equipment at that time either. So anyway, got injured, came back, was playing for like a kind of a semi-pro team in the United States for a little while to get healthy again. And then I started contacting agents and stuff about Christmas time and was like, hey, what's up? Or like, I guess before Christmas time in 2019, and was like, let's chat, let's do this. Here's my highlight video. Here's my college highlight video. Here's the professional. Here's some highlights from Spain. And OPSM decided to sign me. Oh, excuse me. Actually, this was beforehand. Yeah, Christmas 2018. Got signed with OPSM in like February, March, was looking at a bunch of different opportunities and just decided to go and on my own trial for the LA Force, which is a professional team down in Los Angeles. And I went down there and just like out of 100 or 200 guys at an open trial. And this, I don't recommend this to people, but this is like, if you really, really want to get experience, go try these open trials. It's not incredibly likely that you make it because it's such a competitive environment. And most of the time they already have a full roster. They're just like looking to make money. But I played incredible, like even from my perspective, and I've got really good self-awareness, I think, from my playing now, is like I played incredibly well and ended up getting signed for LA Force. And so I played a professional season down in LA and then went back home and moved home to Seattle after that season. And then basically a month later, OPSM, the agents, called me and said, hey, we have a really cool opportunity for you in Australia. Do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So decided to jump ship and fly down here. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the Australian experience. To be fair, the Australian experience has been much better. And here's why. And I know I mentioned this, a couple of minutes ago, is first of all, I signed a contract before I even landed in the country, which is a little unlikely, but you can do it. So you sign a contract, you know that everything's going to be set up for you, you know that everything's going to be fine and sorted. I got down and there was an understanding with my agent beforehand and the team that I was going to have housing and everything set up. So all I'm saying is that I learned from the Spain experience and took that into Australia and basically said, look, I need all of these things sorted: visa, housing, food, whatever. I need all that as soon as I know that I have a contract. And I need that before I even land in the country so that I don't run into any issues and it can be much smoother. And guess what? I'm still here because obviously I have to move home because of surgery, but I would have been here for 2 full seasons because I had all that stuff sorted. And again, that's the biggest thing. Sometimes you don't have that guarantee, but if you can guarantee that stuff, it makes your life a lot easier. And obviously it helps that Australians speak English. So it's like, it's not that hard of a transition.
All right, fam. So that is my story so far. Those are the experiences that I had abroad, plus some of the follow-ups that these 2 young guys had for me. Hope you enjoyed that video. As always, be awesome, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.